Hi, Miles. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I'd like to just start off with telling me the name of your business, how you guys got started, and how you yourself got involved.
Okay, well, our business is called My Innovations, with 3 I's, which I suppose is a very trendy name these days. But My Innovations was started as a brand marketing agency, and we ostensibly our business model is that we help brands that are based in the UK find markets overseas, and then we also help some overseas brands find markets and trading partners in the UK. So I started working in the sports industry 35 years ago, in the day of shell suits and very unusual fashion design, if you like. It was a very fashionable sort of industry in those days. Everyone walked around in very unusual clothing, which was all based on the sports industry. But the bottom sort of fell out of that market quite quickly back in the sort of 70s and 80s. And I evolved and moved into the toy and nursery sector. So we primarily, over the last 25 years, have worked within the toy industry and the children's babies industry, producing pushchairs, strollers, car seats, and consumable products for children. Now, when I started in that industry, I worked for some of the biggest companies in the world. I've worked with Tomy Toys. I've worked with Fisher Price. I've worked with Babydan, a Danish company, on an employed basis. So I was employed to help build their international business as an employee. And in 2011, quite a long time ago now, the company I was working for was bought by a German consortium, and I left. I certainly wasn't in any position to retire, so I started my own business, which was My Innovations, and My Innovations has been taking brands and helping them export their products around the world.
All right, amazing. Thank you so much. And so in terms of, we always like to scale it back, I think, to the relatable side of the last 2 years, really. And obviously, a lot of business owners have had a different experience. But I think in terms of international trade and import-export, I think that would have had an interesting effect on your business. How did COVID and the pandemic affect you?
Well, it was a bit of a double whammy, really, because COVID came along, but also we had Brexit at the same time, if you like. So
of course,
it was a very difficult time for British companies to export abroad, because nobody knew what was happening and nobody really understood what the rules or the regulations were going to be. We all thought we had an idea, but the government, I think, were rather poor at explaining the actual effect that Brexit would have. The protocols and the restrictions and paperwork that were going to be involved. I said, once we sort of had a better understanding of that, those were sort of hurdles we could overcome, but it inevitably increased costs for companies exporting, because there were different sort of processes that you had to adopt to fill, mainly on the paperwork side, to be fair. But COVID then came along and that made things very difficult. The biggest problem with COVID is most of the product that we work with, most of the brands we work with, source their products from the Far East. So a lot of product comes from China. And of course, China was the source of the original COVID outbreak, and getting product from China to the different brands in the UK was very difficult. So stock became very hard to find. It was very irregular in the frequency of stock being delivered to the brands that we work with, and availability or lack of availability affects price. So prices go up when demand increases. So it made it quite tricky to build an established business and to work with partners on a sort of a fixed and level playing field, because everything was fluctuating so fast.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I've heard a similar thing, but not in terms of import export. But how would you say that you overcame those challenges? What was
the biggest thing was meeting people's expectations. That was the greatest thing. I think once people understood what the situation was and they understood the problems that everyone was facing, it became a little bit more it became more manageable. So, for example, we work with a very big brand in the UK of pushchairs and strollers called Egg and Oyster. They're used by one company that we manage all their international business. Now, their products come out of a very high-tech factory in China, and we sell an awful lot of them around the world. Now, the problem was demand grew exponentially over that period, because everyone wanted more product and the Chinese factory couldn't produce them because their workforce were restricted and limited in how often they could be in the factory, and some of the factories even closed for a period of time. So when we spoke to our international partners, the distributors and retailers we work with around the world, when we explained that situation to them, it became easier for us to manage their expectations. So they realized they weren't going to get as much product as they wanted. So we had to sort of, if you like, plan and forecast and schedule deliveries to them so that they could understand what they were going to get and when they were going to get it. It did affect, as I say, pricing quite significantly, but end consumers then were able to be informed by the distributors and the retailers of the same problems and the same issues that that everybody was facing. And when people understand what the situation is, they're a little bit more acceptable of it. If you just say, well, you can't have something or it's going to be late, that doesn't really help. What they need to know is why it's going to be late and what you're doing about it and what the realistic outcome is going to be. And if people know it's going to be a month late, it's one thing. If it's going to be 3 or 4 months late, that's quite difficult for them to be able to organise. And in our industry, it's very difficult because if parents are expecting a baby and they want to buy a pushchair or they want to buy some baby products, they haven't got that long before the baby arrives and they need it. So
yeah, absolutely.
We had some quite finite timelines that we had to work around quite often. But it's really just giving as much information out as you possibly can and being as accurate as you can.
Right, of course.
Which wasn't easy, but yeah, I know everyone comes back to this same old thing about talking about communication. But communication is key. If people understand what's happening and you keep them informed, then they're much more tolerant of the situation.
Absolutely, and I think everybody could empathise because everybody around the world was experiencing a very similar thing, and they were experiencing not only on a professional basis but on a personal basis. In terms of building an international company, what do you think are the main things that business owners need to consider or need to have in place before kind of launching their company overseas?
Research, information research, and being confident of who you're trying to work with. So I was very fortunate, having spent 20 years in international business. I had a fairly large network of partners that I worked with across the world, and I used most of those, and I still work with most of those today. And I think that is one of the key factors of our success, is that we know who we're working with. Now, when we started out, I talked to my wife, who's my business partner, about this, and we had a couple of options. We could have gone along with the sort of blunderbuss approach of firing our business details out to as many partners that we can think of around the world and seeing what comes back, and then trying to work with as many of those as possible and see what happens. And that's a very tempting sort of short-term, rather naive way of going about it, because if you put enough feelers out there and you put enough emails and contacts, or try and make contact with enough people, sooner or later you'll get some feedback that's positive. The danger with that is you don't really know who you're going to be contacted by. You don't really know who they are, and you don't really understand what their sort of corporate goals and aims are, what their culture's really based upon. And then you'll end up, or we found out, we did it a little bit. We did that sort of, we had that approach a little bit, and we found that some of the people we started working with weren't the right partners at all. They had a different cultural setup to ours. They had different sort of long-term goals, different sort of priorities. And we spent more time aligning our business in those markets, because we had to say, right, I'm sorry, we're going to have to terminate the agreements we had with the wrong partner and then go away and then find the right partner. So eventually, by going about it the wrong way, we spent quite a lot of energy and time stopping what we'd originally started and then having to move on and find the right partners and the right people to work with. So,
and what do you think? Sorry,
continue. I think it's really important for us to, rather than jump in too quickly, is to do your due diligence, find out who you want to work with, do your market research, and then try and speak to people who understand the cultures. So, for example, we work a lot within completely different cultural environments. So we do a lot of work in the Middle East, where culture is entirely different to working in North America, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
The understanding of the demands of those cultures and how they operate and what their priorities are, how they want to be spoken to, even, and how they react to us being a westernized business, if you like, is very different. So
and how they conduct business as well, for sure. I know in Arab meetings and stuff, it's always coffee first, I used to live in the Middle East for quite a long time. Was born there. And so, yeah, so then all of this like cultural thing, and obviously it's a massive culture shock, but these little nuances, these things that people don't understand. In England, we're just like kind of getting straight into business. Obviously we offer them a cup of tea or something, but like it's not really the same as like, it's impolite to speak about business before a certain time.
Oh, very much so. And I think having a degree of cultural awareness,
yeah, for sure,
is crucial, because you can actually alienate people you're trying to work with very easily without ever knowing it, really.
Yeah.
So I think really spending a bit of time to research what you're trying to achieve, or looking at what you're trying to achieve in those different markets, and who the right partners to work with is crucial. And whilst everyone is naturally impatient because we want to drive our businesses forward as fast as we can, and it's important to sort of make money and try and make your business sustainable, I think for the long term, the more research you can do and the more time you can spend finding those partnerships or building those partnerships, the better.
Amazing. Wonderful. I'm just conscious of time now, so I'd just like to close with one last question, and it's to do with an initiative that we're putting forward for young people between the ages of 16 and 22 to be interested in business and kind of look at starting their own companies. As a seasoned business owner, you know, with over 20 years of experience in international sales, is there anything specific that you'd like to advise young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, have courage. Have courage. You're never going to achieve it unless you do it. You know, you've got to start somewhere. And if you have a vision, or you have a passion that you want to, whatever it may be that you want to achieve, you've got to have courage, and you've got to have a go. And if you don't have a go, you'll always look back and say, I wonder what would have happened if, or wouldn't it have been great if. And you know, that would be the saddest thing, is to look back and say, I'm pretty sure I could have done that had I made the right decision. So I would say to people, have the courage to take those steps, and when you do, work really hard, because it's not going to be easy. But if you're prepared to do that and you're prepared to take those steps, then really it's a global market now. We're not just dealing in small individual places anymore. The world is open to industry, and if you have the vision, you have the passion, then yeah, my advice would be to have courage and grab a bull by the horns and go for it, because otherwise you'll never know.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. Well, thank you so much, Miles, for joining me here today. Really appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people will find value in what you've had to come say. Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Okay, that clap is so awkward, because it's like, as soon as I feel like the editing is going to be done, I can relax a bit.
It feels a bit strange, doesn't it? Because there's no way you can say enough in the time you got. I mean, it's just impossible, isn't it? But it's
no. And I had a lot of questions that I wanted to ask you, but if I could still just a couple more minutes of your time, I have a personal question.
Yeah.
My boyfriend has his own business, and we are kind of starting, we've got like ideas and things of different branches of it. And I heard you say that you're in business with your wife. In terms of being in a relationship with your business partner, is there any one thing that you would advise or bring up, or I don't know, something to be aware of?
What, for you two?
In general, people who are doing business together and also in a
relationship. A lot of people say to me, you know, we used to have offices over in Burscough, on the industrial estate in Burscough, and we had a big warehouse and everything. We didn't really need it, so we shut it down. So our offices are actually an extension of our house now, so we work from home. So we spend all our time together. So we're either at work together or we're at home together. And you know, I think it's great. We don't have a single issue with it, and it's really good. And the biggest danger we have is that because we're close all the time, we spend a lot of time at home and a lot of time at work together, we actually don't communicate about work enough, because we kind of assume that I assume that Michelle knows everything that I know, and Michelle assumes that I know everything that she knows, and we don't. She sits in the office 2 yards away, but even so, I don't know what's happened that day unless we sit down and talk about it.
Right, of course.
It is, we are quite individual, and really being utterly consumed in it is really important. But I think it's fantastic. I don't think there's a better person you can work with than the person that you trust the most in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's really, really good, and we've been doing this since 2011 on our own, and it's been brilliant, and I'd never change a thing. So yeah, if you're going to go in with your partner, go for it. Again, I would say, yeah, definitely do it, because it's very hard to find people you really trust.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you've got someone that you do, then you know, but you've got to communicate. That's the difficult thing, because you've got to assume that they don't know what's happened during that day, or the things that they're going on. And then you find out you start doing things. This is terrible. I start finding I'm doing things. And I think, well, Michelle really should be doing the import-export paperwork for that. And I go, well, it's all right. I can write the bill of ladings out and I can do the export documents. And I start doing it thinking, well, that's not really, I shouldn't be doing that because she doesn't know what the hell's going on. So I should really just go and say, right, can you do those?
Right.
And equally, she'll say, well, I know Mars is doing this. So I'll go and talk to one of the customers that we're talking about. She's got all the paperwork there and she'll say, well, should we change this or should we change that? Should we add some more of this? Should we take some more of that out? Should we do this? That's not really for me to talk about. That's really Mars should be sorting that out. So sometimes we cross over what we do, and it's really good. That's really very effective, but you've got to tell people what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely, because then you could just be working on the same thing in like different areas and have no idea, just assume everyone's got it. But I like that though, because to me that shows that there's a level of trust between you guys.
Oh, it is complete. Yeah, so, and that's why I really recommend it. And working with somebody that that is your sort of life partner is, I think it's great. People sort of say to me, "How'd you do it?" It must be really hard. No, it's not. Brilliant. I think it's really good.
I mean, well, amazing. I think you have to be a particular type of people, or obviously have communication.
Maybe.
So your space, and I heard you say as well, you're very individual. So I think you both have that individual time to do what you guys are doing individually, but also like, I mean, that's a lot. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, that's
really get a bit dull though when you get to the evening. You start talking about work stuff because you just haven't sort of talked about it. It's not,
also, maybe
all the time. We're not like that every day. It's not like that all the time.
Like past 6 p.m, no work related stuff.
Yeah. We got family as well, so the kids sort of shut up about talking about it.
It's hard. My parents used to work together, and at the table it was so boring because it was like I couldn't participate because I didn't know what was going on. And they'd be like going off, and I'm like, you spent all day together. Like, can you?
One of the problems is though, you got to figure, it's really, really hard. We've got 3 different divisions to our business. I mean, I talked today about the toy and nursery business, but we've also got a pet business that we run as well.
Oh, cool.
Which is along the similar lines. But we realized a little while ago that if you just have one string to your bow, you're really vulnerable. Because if it goes wrong,
interesting.
You're dead. So try and always have more than one income stream. Because you've got more than one income stream, you're limiting your liabilities all the time. So we try and ensure that we've got at least 5 or 6 brands and product categories that we work with, so that at any one time, if one sector of the market goes flat, something else will have to stabilize it, and someone else will stabilize it. So
that's interesting.
You've always got some income stream that's reasonably reliable.
Okay, no, because that's what he's working on. He has an import-export thing. He sells stuff on eBay. He's an eBay seller. That's one of the things. Okay. Another thing is this Barbarian Entertainment. He started a company with his dad, and they just do events and stuff and entertainment and that. Another one is Barbarian Beauty. He went to Poland a couple of weeks ago and went to this cosmetics convention and got a load of cosmetic stuff. And I know it's kind of a little bit, I don't know if I'm a little bit offended or whatever, but he has kind of asked me to help him with that part of it. So there's already 3 or 4, so he's kind of on the right line. But it's just when I heard you about import export, it just triggered me to want to ask a little bit more questions related to
it. So it's something you can have a look at. One of the things that we're working with that's just going absolutely berserk at the moment is a company called Dew Products, DEW.
Okay.
Dew we're mainly working in the baby industry and the pet industry. What they do is they make completely chemical free products for pets, products for babies, which is huge. But they also make beauty products. They also make personal care products.
Okay.
And this stuff is really cool. We've gone from like nothing to really getting quite a big global traction in no time at all. And in fact, there's Pets at Home I was talking to just a minute ago to launch Dew pet products in their stores.
Oh, awesome.
Next couple of months. But Dew is, if you have Barbarian Beauty and you're thinking, you want something that's different and you want, personal care product that is completely chemical free, zero carbon footprint, all this sort of stuff. We just launched with a company called Retail Brothers in Sweden. They're huge. They're taking it on because they love the idea of having totally chemical-free beauty options.
Absolutely, yeah. I did a seminar yesterday about how a lot of beauty products are carcinogenic, and it's just a lot of stuff we don't even know. But
it's huge, and all that sort of stuff's massive. Now, Dew products are made and produced in Scotland, so it's a local business, a British company, and if that's anything like that, if you want source products that that's what we do all day. So just keep in touch with me, and I can put you in touch with the guys at Dew. Just at dewproducts.co.uk. It's really interesting stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much, because he's been looking for another product. You know, it's that the success is always related to some sort of product, I think. You know, there's always that, I think people are looking for that one thing that's going to blow up, but
Okay,
that's
well, the other
awesome.
one
That's so valuable.
you're also looking at another beauty product. Look at washies.
Washies.
You'll understand washies entirely. Hang on, where's one? I'll see if I can see one. No, I haven't got one here. Just Google washies. It's makeup removal and basically with no. You basically use a washies pad and water, and it takes makeup away absolutely instantly. It's fantastic. We sold 250,000 units on QVC in 1 hour.
Wow.
So washies is massive. And that's mainly done in Germany, but we're looking for partners in the UK all the time. So have a look at washies. Washies is very, very cool.
Amazing, wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, that's so valuable. I'll have a conversation with him. And yeah, I've got your email address.